Why, hello, faithful viewer. Welcome to this little corner of the internet. For all of you who are out there in YouTube land, and however you have got here, whether it was completely by accident and you just stumbled across us, or whether you were intentionally seeking us out, I bid you welcome nonetheless. We are continuing a journey. We're trying to continue to have a safe space to talk about, to think about God, and to do so in just little bite-sized portions so that things can be a little bit more palatable. I know a lot of us don't get a lot of time to think deeper thoughts, and some of us have never started in this particular trajectory of thinking. So this is just a good, safe space to begin these kinds of exercises. If you happen to see our first video, episode 1, we talked about mystery and how maybe a good place to start thinking about God is just recognizing that there are lots of places in our lives where we just don't understand things fully. We are limited in our humanness, and even if you throw together in a big pool all of human history and all of human thought, all of human advancement, and even the way that we are archivally passing things down, there are still so many mysteries out there in the universe, so many things that we don't understand. And when you get to that space where you can say, all right, I'm at the end of myself and maybe even at the end of my species in their thought process, then you can sort of acknowledge, okay, there's something out there. There's something beyond the veil. And I'm going to give that something a special God space. Today, for this next little bite of theology, if you're in that space where you can recognize this mysterious realm, I am going to say maybe the next bite, the next piece, the next step that we take is really acknowledging what I'm going to call divine primacy. And all that really means is whatever is beyond that veil, whatever sacred space is there, this God space, that it might have the better view and perspective and understanding of reality than we do in our own limited, finite humanness. So maybe a good analogy might be a simple story, a simple metaphor about a fishbowl. You know, oftentimes if you're going to get a fish, then you do some prep work. So you get yourself a tank and you decorate the tank. Maybe you put little pebbles on the bottom. Maybe there's a little treasure chest that opens and closes, a little sunken ship down there, maybe some artificial seaweed, right? And then you fill the tank with water, and then you place your fish into that water. All the fish knows is what's around it. I mean, it doesn't know what water is. It doesn't know where the ship or the treasure chest came from. It may not even know that the seaweed is not real. But it doesn't mean that the fish can't sort of investigate and draw its own conclusions, right? Maybe one day when the tank needed to be cleaned and the fish got scooped out and it was a very traumatic experience for the fish, the only thing that it remembers is it swam counterclockwise that day. So maybe it comes to a very rational and logical conclusion that if you're going to swim counterclockwise, or maybe if you swim too many times counterclockwise, this big net thing might come down and scoop you up again. It's kind of the cause and effect, sort of using this scientific reasoning method to try and understand its surroundings. Maybe it thinks that the water stays warm because of the lights that are on in the kitchen. So every time those lights go on, maybe the fish just assumes that that means that the water temperature is getting warmed up, and at night when those lights are shut off, then that means that it cools back down again. And what the fish has no concept of is that the owner actually has a little heater in the tank, and a little thermometer that the fish doesn't know what it is and doesn't know how to read it and doesn't realize that the person outside of the tank is actually caring for the fish. Now, if you had to come to a conclusion, like who holds primacy on reality, the most accurate reality, is it the fish in that scenario? Or is it the person who prepared the tank, the person who is caring for the fish, and the person who knows just a lot more about the details of how all of this works? Now, it doesn't mean that the fish is unappreciated or that the fish is insignificant, as much as it is that wisdom and deference to reality sometimes goes to the person or the thing that has the best vantage point. And by divine primacy, what I'm trying to suggest is that God, inhabiting this special, mysterious God space, actually has a better reality or a better understanding of what reality is than we do, regardless of how smart we are or what we study or what conclusions we come to, because we're trapped in the fish tank. We've been born into this world. We don't know anything other than this world, and we're making observations that are limited at best. Now, the sacred writings in my tradition would say similar things to this. They would say things like, God's wisdom actually seems like foolishness to humanity. But humanity, in our wisdom, didn't come to recognize and know God. So God was actually pleased through his foolishness to reveal himself and to bring salvation to those who would believe. And there's this argument that even if it were possible that God has a foolish level, God's foolishness is even wiser than the greatest of our wisdom. So that kind of puts things in a different perspective, maybe a new perspective. And it really comes down to this question: do you view things mostly through an anthropocentric lens or through something else? We have gotten in the habit in this post-Enlightenment period of history, in this very scientific age that we've been living in for so long, that we presume we are the ones who know best and our observations are the most correct. And our methods are kind of foolproof. And unfortunately, if you view things through that lens, then it's very hard to accept. And that's even kind of in this word theology, right? We're saying that we're the ones who study God. Is that true? Do we even have tools by which we can study God? We have to at least be able to digest the fact that God understands things way different and way better than we do, and therefore we have to kind of come from a more humble perspective. Now, maybe you're going to need to chew on that, and that's totally fine. Take your time. This is meant to be digestible. This is meant to be pleasurable. This is meant to be at your own pace and just small, bite-sized increments. But if you get to a place where you can sort of say, all right, not only is there mystery, but whatever inhabits that mysterious God space might know what reality is better than I do, or better than my species does, well, then we might just be ready for the next bite in this enormous, delicious meal that we call theology. So until then, I hope that you remain well and that you are safe and that you are kind to one another. And I look forward to seeing you again on the other side of this screen.